A journey into the heart of self-knowledge. In the bustling agora of ancient Athens, a strange figure would walk barefoot, stop people mid-conversation, and ask unsettling questions like, "What is justice?" or "What does it mean to live well?" But the question that lay beneath them all, the question that haunted him and that he gave to the world, was this: who are you? Socrates believed that the most important task of any human life is to know oneself. Not in the shallow sense of knowing your name, job, or opinions, but in the deeper sense of understanding your soul, your motivations, your values, your flaws, and your capacity for virtue. To Socrates, most people lived in illusion. They thought they knew who they were, but when asked to explain their beliefs or justify their choices, they stumbled. They repeated what others had told them. They confused knowledge with opinion. And so Socrates made it his mission to expose this illusion, not to mock, but to awaken. He would approach craftsmen, poets, generals, politicians. He'd ask them what they thought they knew best, and with calm, probing questions, he would show them how little they actually understood. One famous example comes from Plato's Apology, where Socrates visits a man reputed to be wise. After their conversation, Socrates concludes, "He thinks he knows something, but he does not. I do not know, but I know that I do not know. Therefore, I am wiser." This paradox, knowing that you don't know, is the beginning of true self-knowledge. It takes humility to admit ignorance, but in that humility, Socrates believed, lies the opening to wisdom. Self-knowledge, for Socrates, was not introspection for its own sake. It had a purpose: to live a good life. How can you be just if you don't know what justice is? How can you be courageous if you don't understand fear or honor? How can you love if you don't know what your love is aiming at? For Socrates, ethics and self-knowledge were inseparable. The unexamined life, he said, is not worth living, not because such a life is evil, but because it is blind. He likened himself to a gadfly, sent by the gods to sting the sleepy horse of the Athenian people, to provoke, to disturb, to wake. And many people hated him for it. His constant questioning was not always welcome. In the end, it cost him his life. Accused of corrupting the youth and dishonoring the gods, he was sentenced to death by poison. Yet even in his final moments, Socrates remained true to his principle. He refused to escape, refused to compromise, and drank the hemlock calmly, because, he said, a philosopher does not fear death, but ignorance. Socrates didn't leave behind a single written text. What we know of him comes through the writings of his students, especially Plato. And yet, his legacy is more alive than ever. His method, the Socratic method, is still used today in classrooms, therapy sessions, and courtrooms. A dialogue built not on answers, but on better questions. And at the center of this method remains the most difficult and most necessary question of all. Who are you, really? This question cuts through noise, culture, and ego. It asks us to sit with discomfort, to strip away the masks we wear in society, to admit that perhaps we do not yet know ourselves, but that we can begin. Even now, centuries later, in a world of information overload and endless self-presentation, Socrates' challenge remains. Don't just live, examine your life. Don't just follow, inquire. Don't just assume, reflect. Because knowing yourself is not a one-time achievement. It's a lifelong process of becoming. And in that process, in that searching, something extraordinary happens. You begin to act not from habit, or fear, or imitation, but from clarity, from truth, from a soul that is awake. That is what Socrates offers us, not a doctrine, not a religion, but a mirror, and the courage to look into it.